With Diablo 4 being out today for everyone, I wanted to go through 5 major mistakes that I've made and some tips and tricks along the way that you should know before saving Sanctuary from Lilith and her armies from hell. Let's go! Let me know your favorite class in the comments down below. So firstly, let's start with your general progression. Now in Diablo 4, there is a lot of side quests and dungeons and strongholds and just all sorts of content all over the map. I would highly suggest to focus mostly on the main story through your first way through the game. There is a lot of content there and it is super easy to get sidetracked, but at the end of Act 3, just when you start Act 4, you do get your mount, which makes not only traversal a little bit easier, but actually doing all of these side quests as you have to travel around. But once you complete the main quest, you will unlock the Tree of Whispers, which will give you like a great way to farm loot as well as some more objectives. And you can always go back and do those side quests and dungeons and things that you've missed. And on top of that, say you've completed the main story and you want to try one of the other classes, once you finish the campaign on one character, you can actually skip the campaign on the other characters and start that endgame questing and some unlocked waypoints, a mount, and all of that Tree of Whispers quest that you will have available. Now you will only start from level 1 again, but you won't have to go around and complete that campaign again, unless you do want to. Like you have that choice, right? But it just gives you more options at the start of the game while having the waypoints and the mounts, which definitely helps a lot because you do spend a lot of time just sort of running between things. And once you've completed that main story, you can really get to the nuts and bolts of the game. But that is up to you, right? Like some people don't want to rush through things and you want to actually experience things at your own pace, maybe playing with friends, you want to do all the dungeons, you can absolutely do that. But it's just a worthwhile mentioning that there is benefits to finishing the story as soon as possible and then going back and clearing anything that you may have missed. Next is a major class buff that you really should be doing, but it's different for all of the classes. So as soon as you get it on any of the classes at a different level, you'll get a class specialization quest. Now this quest is different for each of the classes, not only the quest being different, but actually the level that it unlocks. For example, the Rogue gets it at 15, the Necromancer gets it at 25. What this quest does is it will unlock upgrades in your class specialization. So for some classes like the Rogue, it will unlock the entire class specialization system, whereas for some other classes like the Necromancer, it just unlocks like the bones, so the final piece of that class specialization system. But regardless of the class, this is super critical for you to do. This will complete sort of your character build and putting the class together, as it's what makes that class unique, right? Like it's for the Necromancer, it's like that minion system. For the Barbarian, it's like that weapon expertise and like their arsenal. It's very critical that they do it. Now, for some classes, this happens much earlier. Some classes happens much later. But as soon as you see that priority crest pop up to say that you've unlocked that class specialization, you really should go off and go and do that quest because it's a major buff for your overall build and for your class. And it's highly recommended that you do this as soon as it comes available. And moving on to a gearing mistake. Now, the key here really, we're going to go into some other things, but the key thing is to salvage gear, don't sell it. Now, for some people that might sound super obvious, but I have seen a lot of streams, including a lot of my friends, and I'm calling y'all out if you're watching this video, selling gear rather than salvaging it. This doesn't seem like a big issue because when you sell gear, you get gold, and like, who doesn't want gold, right? It seems like something you should get. But the key thing here is that salvaging gives you materials, and you're going to need those materials once you complete the campaign, hit that level 50 mark, and you really start worrying about your build and the gear that you're using, because you'll use those materials not only to upgrade your gear at the blacksmith, but also if you're imprinting legendary aspects onto gear and any other buffs that you're looking for. Those materials are super, super critical, especially the Veiled Crystals, because you will absolutely be out of them like immediately. You don't get enough of these, so salvage all of that gear, especially duplicate legendaries, because you get high-end mats from them as well. But honestly, like the real tip here is just don't waste those resources, like the materials that you do get. You'll definitely be replacing most of your gear pretty quickly as you're leveling up, and you only really need like 1 or 2 legendaries for your build to sort of work when you're leveling up, and then you can imprint that aspect if you do absolutely like need it or you don't have it. But say you've found like a piece of gear that has that legendary aspect on it, even if it's significantly levels lower than you, just keep using it until it like is significantly out leveled, right? So you're not wasting those resources, but you're still getting that legendary aspect. And then once you've eventually down the line, and you can sort of worry about that a little bit more. But definitely don't upgrade any of that early gear. Don't spend too much time worrying about legendary aspects, aspects in the early game. Just focus on that primary 1 or 2 aspects you need. Just keep that piece of gear, have everything else, and just sort of level the gear with you as you get new gear, just equip it and keep on the roll. Next is respecking, and I guess just sort of some skills and build stuff in general. So I would recommend firstly not to respec your entire skill tree just because it is the most expensive. So if you're just tweaking like your build, you're not really sure, just remove the specific skills and the skill points and then put them into wherever you want to move them to. It just saves you that little bit of gold cost. But if you respec all of your skill tree, it costs the exact same amount as if you were respecking all your individual skills that you have, right? So using my necromancy that I've been leveling here in an example, it costs 293 to respec a single skill, and then you times that by the 34 skill points that I had, and then that equals the exact same amount as if I was just respecking them all individually. So it doesn't necessarily cost more to respec all of them, but it's just worth pointing out, say if you're just tweaking your build, then definitely just remove the ones that you're specifically wanting to like get rid of, just to save you that gold cost, because gold does become more important later down the line, but in the early stages, you know, it's not as important and you don't have heaps of it. But also, like, don't be afraid of respecking, right? Try new things, right? The build system is super complex. There is so many different things that you can do in terms of how you want to build your character, even just in basic skills, right? You've got like 4 basic skills to choose from. You don't know which one's right for you, which one you like the best, right? So you got to try these things and see what works for you in terms of the different classes and their different skills and the way that they interact. Plenty of variability in terms of all these different classes and the way that their playstyle actually comes together. So definitely try respecking, but just keep that gold cost in mind, but definitely feel free to respec as much as you like. It's not as punishing as in some other games. Last is a healing buff. So every 15 levels, you should be returning to the alchemist in town to upgrade your potions. These upgrades will cost a specific amount of herbs and occasionally some sort of monster materials that you may pick up. So just make sure that you have these, whether you're getting them from herb caches from side quests or just actually picking them up in the world. But actually going back to the alchemist and upgrading is really critical, because increasing your potion's potency is probably more important than increasing your potion's capacity, because as you level up, so will your health just natively. So make sure that you are improving your potion so that when you're actually popping the potion, it's still giving you a solid amount of health back when you're using it. If you want to increase your potion capacity, the best way to do that is through the region progress. So each of the regions, as you are doing side quests and dungeons and various other activities, you'll get that region progress, and at the second tier of that region progress, you'll get a potion capacity as well. So you'll just increase your overall capacity, not just in that region, but like all of your character's actual potion capacity. And while you're at the alchemist too, make sure you're buying elixirs, because they give you a flat 5% XP increase, as well as other buffs. But while you're leveling, that 5% XP increase for 30 minutes is actually pretty cool to have, and it's actually worthwhile having just as you're leveling, and they're not too expensive to make, and you'll get some of them just from doing side quests as well if you are doing them as well, but just keep that in mind. And lastly, check out my tips and tricks video, which goes through even more tips and tricks that you need to know for Diablo 4, and let me know what class you're playing in the comments down below. I'm working on a class guide for each of the classes, so hopefully I will do your class very soon if I haven't already. Thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.